The empty vessel. In the vastness of space, where stars were nothing more than distant pinpricks in the endless void, the Galactic Collective maintained order through superior firepower. The Collective, comprised of 27 advanced species from across 3 spiral arms, had rules, strict protocols that governed everything from trade routes to colonization rights. Every species knew these rules. Every species followed them. Except humans. Another signal from the edge of Sector Zeta 9, announced First Officer Kretal, her crystalline appendages tapping rapidly across the command console of the collective cruiser Righteous Decree. Unknown vessel signature. Not in our database. Captain Varnek's throat sacs pulsed a deep orange, an indication of mild irritation among the Galvaxi. Show me. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a sleek obsidian craft drifting silently through an asteroid field. Unlike collective vessels with their ornate designs and prominently displayed weapons arrays, this ship was smooth, almost featureless, with gentle curves that reflected nothing. "Scan it," ordered Varnek. Kretal's crystalline fingers danced across her station. No weapons detected. No shield generators. Minimal power signature. Life support active, but strange. Strange how? The atmosphere inside is primarily nitrogen and oxygen. Pressure consistent with. She paused, mandibles clicking in surprise. Earth standard conditions. A ripple of discomfort passed through the bridge crew. Humans. Deathworlders. The word itself was enough to make junior officers nervous, though none would admit why. Humans had joined the galactic community only 30 cycles ago, and most species still regarded them with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. They came from a planet with crushing gravity, toxic levels of oxygen, and weather systems that would kill most sentient species. Worse, they evolved as persistence predators, capable of pursuing prey until exhaustion, a concept so alien that many collective psychologists refused to study it for fear of developing anxiety disorders. Yet despite their fearsome homeworld, humans remained technologically primitive by collective standards. Their ships were slow, their weapons were inefficient, their diplomacy was unpredictable. A human ship this far from their territory. Captain Varnek's throat sacs shifted to a contemplative blue. Interesting. What's their armament? That's just it, Captain, said Kretal. There isn't any. No weapons signatures at all. Not even defensive ones. Varnek blinked his 4 eyes in sequence, a Galvaxi expression of disbelief. Impossible. No species travels without protection, especially not Deathworlders. Scans confirm, sir. This vessel has no conventional weapon systems. The captain leaned back in his gravity chair, a predatory smile spreading across his face. Well then, it seems we've found ourselves some salvage. Notify command that we've discovered an abandoned human vessel. We'll be claiming it under Collective Ordinance 5529B. But sir, Kretal's crystals dimmed slightly, her species equivalent of a frown. The life support is active. It may not be abandoned. Are you detecting life signs? No, but... Then it's abandoned, said Varnek with finality. Prepare a boarding party. Standard salvage protocols. Within 30 minutes, a team of 6 collective specialists had suited up in the Righteous Decree's main airlock. Led by Security Chief Mrax, a hulking Vorathi with armor plates covering 90% of his body, they represented the elite of collective training. Remember, Mrax growled to his team, human ships are primitive, but can be unpredictable. Watch for mechanical traps or crude explosives. We go room by room, secure everything, then begin assessment for salvage. The team acknowledged their orders as the shuttle launched from the cruiser, crossing the short distance to the mysterious human vessel. As they approached, the ship remained silent, offering no communication, no warning, no sign that it was anything but an empty shell drifting through space. This is Collective Security Force requesting access. Mrax transmitted on all frequencies. Respond, or we will forcibly board under Salvage Ordinance 5529B. Silence answered him. "Very well," he muttered. "Brixen, prepare the cutting tools." But before the specialist could activate her equipment, a seam appeared in the smooth hull of the human ship. It widened silently into an airlock. "It opened for us," Specialist Lanny whispered, her tentacles curling in confusion. "Stay alert," ordered Mrax. "This could be a trap." The team docked and entered the airlock one by one. Internal sensors in their suits confirmed breathable atmosphere as the inner door slid open, revealing a dimly lit corridor with sleek walls of the same obsidian material as the hull. "Move out. Standard formation," Mrax commanded, drawing his pulse rifle. The team advanced through silent corridors, their helmet lights casting long shadows. Everything was immaculate. No dust, no debris, nothing to suggest the ship had been abandoned or damaged. "This doesn't make sense," muttered Specialist Jorex, the team's technician. "Our scans showed minimal power, but these systems are clearly operational." "Focus on the mission," Mrax growled. They continued deeper into the vessel, finding nothing but empty rooms and silent corridors. No crew quarters, no personal effects, just smooth, featureless walls and intermittent control panels with incomprehensible symbols. "Central Command should be ahead," said Jorex, consulting his scanner. "Though I can't be certain. This hull material is interfering with." The lights flickered once, then stabilized. "What was that?" asked Lanny, her weapon swinging nervously from side to side. "Power fluctuation," said Jorex, though he didn't sound convinced. "Nothing, Toe." "Chief Mrax, report status," came Captain Varnick's voice over the comm. "We're detecting unusual energy readings from the vessel." "Nothing significant to report, Captain," replied Mrax. "The ship appears abandoned but intact. We're approaching what we believe is Central Command now. Proceed with caution. Something about this doesn't feel right." The team reached a sealed doorway at the end of the corridor. Unlike the others they'd encountered, this one remained firmly closed. "Jorex, get it open," ordered Mrax. The technician stepped forward, examining the control panel beside the door. Unusual configuration. Not standard human design from our records. "I'll need a moment, Toe." The panel beneath his six-fingered hand suddenly illuminated, displaying a single symbol, a circle with a dot at its center. "I didn't do that," Jorex said, pulling his hand back as if burned. The door slid open. Beyond lay a circular chamber dominated by a single chair in its center. The chair faced away from them, toward a massive view screen showing only stars. "Check the chair," Mrax ordered, his weapon trained on it. Specialist Brixen approached cautiously, circling around until she could see the seat. "Empty," she reported. But what?" demanded Mrax. "It's warm." A soft click echoed through the chamber as the door sealed behind them. "Breach protocol," shouted Mrax, but before anyone could move, the lights dimmed to almost nothing, leaving only the starfield on the view screen to illuminate their faces. "Chief Mrax, we're detecting power surge in your location," came the captain's concerned voice. "Report status immediately." "Something's happening," Mrax replied, his voice tense. The door sealed us in and. The view screen changed, no longer showing stars, but instead displaying 6 distinct images, each a perfect rendering of one team member's homeworld. "How is this possible?" whispered Lanny, staring at the purple skies and floating cities of her native planet. "Captain," Mrax said urgently into his comm, requesting immediate extraction. "This vessel is." The comm went dead, all their equipment simultaneously powered down. Suits, weapons, scanners, everything except life support. A new image appeared on the screen. Earth. Not the sanitized version from collective educational materials, but Earth in all its violent glory. Storms lashing coastlines. Volcanoes spewing molten rock. Dense jungles teeming with predators. And humans, millions of them, building, fighting, surviving. A voice spoke from everywhere and nowhere, gentle yet somehow more terrifying for its calm delivery. You have boarded United Earth vessel Whisper of Intent without authorization. This is a Category 7 diplomatic craft operating under Special Directive 19. Your presence has been logged. We invoked Salvage Ordinance 5529B, Mrax declared, trying to sound authoritative despite his rising panic. This vessel displayed no active systems or crew. A pause. Then, incorrect. This vessel displayed exactly what it intended to display. Aboard the Righteous Decree, Captain Varnak was growing increasingly agitated. What do you mean you've lost contact? Reestablish immediately. We can't, sir, replied the communications officer. All signals are being absorbed by the hull. It's like they're not even there anymore. Launch another team, ordered Varnak. Full tactical this time. Sir, interrupted Kretal, her crystals now pulsing an alarmed red. We're detecting energy building within the human vessel. Nothing like before. This is enormous. Impossible, Varnak hissed. Our scans showed minimal power reserves. Sir, recommend immediate withdrawal to safe distance, said the tactical officer. These readings are consistent with. A blinding flash erupted from the human ship, engulfing the boarding shuttle in white light. When the glare subsided, the shuttle was gone, not destroyed, simply gone. And the human ship remained unchanged and unthreatening. By the void, whispered someone on the bridge. Captain Varnak's throat sacs had turned ash gray, the Galvaxy color of fear. Get us out of here, he ordered. Maximum thrust. But as the helmsman engaged the engines, nothing happened. The Righteous Decree remained perfectly stationary relative to the human vessel. Sir, said Kretal, her voice barely audible. We're receiving a transmission. From inside our ship. Inside. That's not possible. Put it through. The main view screen changed to show the bridge of the human vessel. The chair that had been empty now held a single human female. She appeared unremarkable, small, fragile even, with dark skin and close-cropped hair. She wore no uniform, no insignia, nothing to denote rank or status. Captain Varnak of the GCS Righteous Decree, she said pleasantly, as if greeting an old friend. I am Ambassador Chen of United Earth. Your boarding party is unharmed, but will remain in our custody until this situation is resolved. Varnak struggled to maintain composure. You lured us into a trap. Your ship showed no signs of. No weapons. Ambassador Chen smiled. Captain, not all weapons announce themselves with gun barrels and missile tubes. Some weapons hide in plain sight. Others aren't weapons at all until you make them so. What do you want? Originally, nothing. The Whisper of Intent was simply passing through, observing. Now we need to discuss your collective's unfortunate habit of treating human vessels as salvage opportunities. This is the 7th such incident in 3 months. Varnak's throat sacs pulsed rapidly between colors. We followed proper protocols for abandoned. Nothing about this vessel was abandoned, Captain. Chen interrupted, her smile fading. Your sensors saw exactly what we wanted them to see. Impossible. Our technology is far superior to. Is it? Chen tilted her head. Then how am I speaking to you from inside your own ship right now? How did we neutralize your engines? How did we transport your boarding party without you detecting it? On cue, every system on the Righteous Decree's bridge flickered momentarily, as if to emphasize her point. What is this? Demanded Varnak. Some kind of advanced human technology we haven't encountered. In a manner of speaking, Chen replied. Though technology might be too limiting a term. As she spoke, her image on the screen seemed to blur slightly, becoming less distinct around the edges. For a moment, just a fraction of a second, something else seemed to stand in her place, something vast and incomprehensible. Kretal gasped. Other bridge officers averted their eyes. We've been patient, continued Chen, her form solid once more. We've allowed the collective to believe what it wished about humans and our capabilities. We've endured your condescension, your exploitation, your classification of Earth as a death world, as if surviving hardship were something to be ashamed of rather than proud of. She leaned forward, and despite being merely an image on a screen, everyone on the bridge instinctively leaned away. That patience has limits, Captain. From deep within the human vessel, a pulse of energy expanded outward, washing over the righteous decree like a wave. As it passed, every screen on the bridge changed to show the same message in perfect galactic standard. DDATHWORLDEORS were Nevior TAE Kori. And as the stunned bridge crew watched, the sleek black ship began to change. The Awakening. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Collective High Command convened with unprecedented haste. Representatives from all 27 member species gathered in the virtual conference chamber, their avatars positioned according to diplomatic rank and species longevity in the collective. At the center stood Supreme Director Xylox, ancient even by Arcturian standards, his translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his agitation. The situation in Sector Zeta 9 has escalated beyond acceptable parameters, he began without preamble. Captain Varnek's report describes capabilities that violate our understanding of human technological advancement. The avatar of General Rax, Supreme Commander of Collective Defense Forces, stepped forward, a Korthuri war veteran with scars across half his scaled face. He had fought in conflicts across 3 spiral arms. With respect, Director, we must consider the possibility that Captain Varnek's report is compromised. The described technologies are not merely advanced. They are impossible. Fleet Admiral Terex, her holographic form shimmering with the adaptive camouflage typical of her aquatic species, countered immediately. Impossible by whose standards, General? We're discussing a species that evolved on a planet where 90% of the native fauna could kill most sentient beings in the galaxy. Perhaps our understanding of impossible requires recalibration. The Admiral raises a valid point, said Chief Scientist Nera, her 12 eyes blinking in complex patterns. We've consistently underestimated human adaptability. Their historical records show a species that progressed from primitive flight to rudimentary space travel within a single generation. No other known species has advanced at such a rate. General Hrax snorted derisively. Yet in the 30 cycles since first contact, they've shown nothing approaching the capabilities described in this report. No phase technology, no matter transmission, no energy manipulation on this scale. Unless, said Ambassador Lorix quietly, they've been hiding their true capabilities all along. Silence fell across the virtual chamber as each representative contemplated this disturbing possibility. Supreme Director Xylox's bioluminescence darkened to deep indigo. Captain Varnek's ship remains immobilized. The human vessel has undergone some form of transformation. I have authorized the deployment of Battle Group Epsilon to neutralize the threat. Is that wise, Director? Asked Ambassador Lorix. If this vessel possesses the capabilities described, a military response could escalate the situation. The decision is made, replied Xylox firmly. The collective cannot allow an unknown technology to threaten our security. Battle Group Epsilon will arrive within 6 hours, with orders to destroy both vessels if necessary. In Sector Zeta 9, aboard the paralyzed cruiser Righteous Decree, Captain Varnek watched in horrified fascination as the human ship continued its impossible transformation. The smooth obsidian surface now rippled like liquid, extending in places, retracting in others. What had been a sleek, featureless vessel now displayed intricate patterns across its hull, patterns that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. Sir, reported Kretal, her crystalline appendages trembling slightly. Long-range sensors detect a collective battle group approaching our position. ETA 6 hours. Have they responded to our warnings? Asked Varnek. His throat sacs a mottled mixture of fear and resignation. No, sir. All our transmissions are being reflected somehow. They never leave our communications array. The captain closed all four eyes briefly. So we're trapped here, unable to warn them about what they're facing. On the main view screen, Ambassador Chen still appeared, watching their reactions with what seemed like genuine curiosity. "You've called for reinforcements," she stated. It wasn't a question. "The collective protects its own," replied Varnak, attempting to sound defiant despite his fear. Chen smiled sadly. "As do we, Captain. That's something your collective has never understood about humans. We don't build weapons for conquest. We build shields for protection." "That thing out there is no shield," said Varnak, gesturing toward the view screen showing the transformed vessel. "No defense system changes shape like that." "Doesn't it?" Chen raised an eyebrow. "Consider the humble amoeba, Captain. When threatened, it changes shape to engulf threats. Consider the chameleon, changing color to hide from predators. Consider the pufferfish, expanding to become too large to swallow." Her eyes, previously warm and human, briefly flashed with something ancient and knowing. Nature's best defenses rarely look like weapons until they need to be. Aboard the Whisper of Intent, Security Chief Mrax and his boarding team remained confined in the circular chamber. The door had vanished entirely, the walls now seamless in every direction. The view screen still displayed Earth in all its terrifying glory, cycling through images of storms, predators, and human achievements. "We need to find a way out," said Specialist Lanny, her tentacles coiled tightly against her body in distress. "With what?" replied Jorix bitterly. "Our equipment is dead. The door is gone. We're trapped in here until they decide otherwise." The view screen suddenly changed, showing a human male with pale skin and silver-streaked hair. Unlike Ambassador Chen, he wore what appeared to be a uniform, charcoal gray with subtle insignia on the collar. "I am Captain James Morrison of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps," he said, his voice carrying the same calm authority as Chen's had. "Your confinement is temporary and non-punitive." "Non-punitive?" snarled Mrax. "You've taken us prisoner." "We've taken you into protective custody," Morrison corrected. "A significant distinction. Had we left you aboard your vessel, you would have been at risk during the upcoming diplomatic exchange." Jorek stepped forward. "What's happening to your ship?" "The transformation we observed. It defies physical laws." Morrison smiled slightly. "Only the physical laws you're familiar with, Specialist Jorex." "How do you know my name?" the technician demanded. "We know all of you," replied Morrison. "Just as we know the 12 battle cruisers currently accelerating toward this sector with orders to destroy both our vessels." The boarding team exchanged alarmed glances. "The collective would never sacrifice one of its own ships," said Mrax, though uncertainty crept into his voice. "Wouldn't they?" Morrison's expression hardened. "Your collective has sacrificed far more than ships to maintain what it calls galactic stability. We've watched, we've learned, and we've prepared." The image on the screen pulled back, revealing that Morrison sat in a command center far larger and more sophisticated than anything they had imagined existed on the vessel. Dozens of humans worked at various stations, their movements precise and coordinated. "This," said Morrison, gesturing to the command center, "is the true Whisper of Intent. What your captain scanned was merely its outer shell, a projection designed to attract exactly the kind of attention it received." "A trap," muttered Mrax. "An opportunity," corrected Morrison. "To demonstrate, finally, why challenging a species that evolved on Earth might be unwise." Battle Group Epsilon arrived 2 hours ahead of schedule, their engines pushed beyond safe limits by the urgency of their mission. 12 warships, led by the dreadnought Indomitable Purpose, dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect attack formation. "Target acquired," announced the tactical officer aboard the dreadnought. "Human vessel has undergone significant structural changes since Captain Varnak's transmission. Configuration unknown." Admiral Vrex, a veteran of 3 interstellar conflicts, studied the tactical display with narrowed eyes. "And the righteous decree. Appears intact but completely powered down. No life sign readings possible through the interference. Open a channel to the human vessel. After a moment, the communications officer shook his head. No response on any frequency. Admiral. Very well. Vrex straightened in his command chair. Deploy neutralizers to disable the human vessel. Prepare boarding parties for both ships. Across the battle group, weapon ports opened as specialized neutralizer arrays powered up. Technology designed to disable ship systems without destroying the vessel itself. Perfect for salvage operations. Neutralizers at full charge, reported the weapons officer. Targeting solution locked. Fire, ordered Admiral Vrex. 12 synchronized energy pulses lanced out from the battle group, converging on the transformed human vessel. But instead of disrupting its systems, the pulses seemed to sink into its hull, absorbed completely without any visible effect. No impact, said the tactical officer, confusion evident in his voice. Neutralizers registered as discharged, but target shows no damage or disruption. Impossible, muttered Vrex. Increase power to maximum and fire again. The second volley produced identical results. Admiral, said the sensor officer urgently, we're detecting energy building within the human vessel. Massive amounts, far beyond anything a ship that size should be capable of generating. Before Vrex could respond, the transformed vessel pulsed once, a ripple of energy expanding outward at impossible speed. As it washed over the battle group, every ship's systems simultaneously failed. Engines, weapons, shields, communications, everything except life support and emergency lighting went dark. 12 of the most powerful warships in the collective fleet now drifted helplessly in space. On the bridge of the indomitable Purpose, emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over the stunned faces of the crew. Admiral Vrex stood rigid at his command station, unwilling to betray the fear coursing through him. Status report, he demanded. All systems non-responsive, replied his first officer. We're detecting the same condition throughout the battle group. The main view screen flickered to life, the only functioning system on the bridge, displaying the face of Captain Morrison. Admiral Vrex, he said calmly. Your battle group has been temporarily neutralized to prevent further hostile action. No permanent damage has been done to your vessels. Vrex glared at the human. This act of aggression against collective forces will not go unanswered. Aggression. Morrison raised an eyebrow. You fired upon a diplomatic vessel in direct violation of Interstellar Treaty 5593, which your own collective drafted and which Earth signed in good faith. We merely prevented you from committing an act of war. Diplomatic vessel. Vrex scoffed. That thing out there is a weapon disguised as a ship. A common misconception about human technology, said a new voice as Ambassador Chen joined Morrison on the screen. We don't disguise weapons as anything. We simply create systems with multiple functions. She stepped closer to the screen. The whisper of intent is exactly what its name suggests, a diplomatic vessel designed to communicate our intentions. In this case, our intention is simple. The collective will cease treating human ships as salvage opportunities. The collective does not respond to threats, said Vrex stiffly. This isn't a threat, Admiral, replied Chen. It's a demonstration. Had we wished to threaten you, we would have done far more than temporarily disable your ships. As if to emphasize her point, the human vessel pulsed again, and suddenly, across all 12 collective warships, main power returned. Engines, life support, internal systems all came back online simultaneously. But not weapons, not faster than light drives. As you can see, continued Chen, we've restored your essential systems. Your crews are in no danger. However, offensive capabilities and FTL drives will remain offline until our diplomatic exchange is complete. Admiral Vrex's face darkened with rage. You cannot hold collective forces hostage. We're not holding anyone hostage, said Morrison. In fact, we're about to release Captain Varnick's crew and the boarding party unharmed. Consider it a gesture of good faith. On cue, The righteous decree suddenly powered up, its systems returning to full functionality. Even its weapons were operational, not that they would be effective against the transformed human vessel. Chen's expression became serious. For 30 cycles, humanity has played by the collective's rules. We've accepted your restrictions, your condescension, your classification of Earth as a death world, as if surviving hardship were something to be ashamed of. We've allowed you to believe we were technologically inferior, diplomatically naive, and militarily insignificant. That ends today, said Morrison firmly, not with threats or demands, but with understanding. The whisper of intent was designed for one purpose: to show the collective exactly what you've been dealing with all along. The view screen split to show the boarding party being transported back to the righteous decree in a flash of light. Matter transmission technology that the collective had theorized but never achieved. Impossible, whispered Vrex. Only if you limit yourself to what you believe is possible, replied Chen. Humans learned long ago that the universe rarely cares about our definitions of impossible. The transformed vessel began to pulse with rhythmic waves of energy, each one more complex than the last. And as the stunned collective forces watched, it began to fold in upon itself, not shrinking but somehow compressing, its dimensions shifting in ways that defied conventional physics. What you're witnessing, explained Morrison, is phase shifting, the technology that allows us to exist simultaneously in multiple dimensional states. It's how the whisper of intent appeared harmless to your scans while containing everything you've seen today. Why show us this now? Demanded Vrex. If you've had these capabilities all along. Because the time for pretense is over, interrupted Chen. Humanity joined the galactic community hoping for genuine partnership. Instead, we found a hierarchical structure that dismissed us as primitive Deathworlders, while simultaneously exploiting our resources and violating our sovereignty. The collective has never. 7 boarding incidents in 3 months, said Morrison, cutting off Vrex's protest. 15 human ships declared salvage under dubious circumstances. 23 trade agreements violated. 42 diplomatic communiques ignored. He paused, letting the numbers sink in. We've been patient, Admiral, extraordinarily patient, but even Deathworlders have limits. The whisper of intent completed its transformation, now appearing as a glowing sphere of pure energy, pulsing with colors that strained the visual capacity of all who observed it. Your ships will regain full functionality in 12 hours, said Chen. By then, we will have departed this sector. A formal diplomatic party will arrive at Collective Central within 1 standard week to renegotiate humanity's position within the galactic community. Her expression softened slightly. This demonstration was not meant as a threat, Admiral, but as clarity. Humans don't want war. We don't want dominance. We simply want respect. The same respect accorded to all sentient species in the galaxy. And if the collective refuses? Asked Vrex, his voice barely audible. Morrison and Chen exchanged glances before Morrison answered. Admiral, you've just witnessed a diplomatic vessel with minimal offensive capabilities neutralize 12 of your most powerful warships without causing a single casualty. Consider carefully what that implies about ships we actually designed for defense. The screen went dark. As the collective forces watched in stunned silence, the glowing sphere that had been the whisper of intent pulsed once more and vanished. Not through conventional faster-than-light travel, not with any detectable energy signature or distortion of spacetime. It simply ceased to exist in that location. 3 days later, the Galactic Collective High Command reconvened. The mood was somber, the discussion subdued. The implications are significant, said Chief Scientist Nera, her 12 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. If the humans possess phase-shifting technology, matter transmission, and energy manipulation at this scale, our strategic assessments require complete revision. General Hrax, previously dismissive of human capabilities, sat in uncharacteristic silence. More concerning, added Fleet Admiral Terex, is the fact that they concealed these capabilities for 30 cycles. What else might they be hiding? Supreme Director Zilox's bioluminescence had settled into a deep, thoughtful purple. The human diplomatic delegation arrives in 4 days. We must decide our response. Ambassador Lorix stepped forward. Perhaps we should consider that our approach to humanity has been fundamentally flawed from the beginning. We classified them as primitive because they didn't match our expectations. We labeled their homeworld a Deathworld because we couldn't survive there, never considering that such an environment might forge unique strengths. She paused, looking around at her colleagues. Maybe it's time we stopped treating humans as lesser members of the galactic community and started treating them as equals, not out of fear of their technology, but out of respect for a species that survived conditions we can barely imagine. In the silence that followed, Supreme Director Zilox's bioluminescence gradually shifted from purple to a bright, clear blue, the Arcturian color of revelation. "Contact Earth," he said finally. "Inform them that the collective looks forward to establishing a new framework for cooperation, one based on mutual respect and understanding." As the meeting concluded, the representatives filed out, their conversations hushed and thoughtful. Only General Hrax remained behind, studying the holographic representation of the transformed whisper of intent. A ship with no weapons, he muttered to himself. That was perhaps the greatest deception of all. Because as every species evolved on a predatory world knew instinctively, sometimes the most dangerous creatures were those that didn't need to show their teeth. And humanity, it seemed, had teeth beyond imagining.